Hi again. We're back with the HeaterTreater fix, and this is on a Ford F-150. We'll go through the full process and show you exactly what the cuts are and how the repair is made. The plenum box used on the F-150 and the Explorer Navigator is exactly the same box. However, access is a little bit different because the dash panels are different. The Ford F-150 is actually the easier of the ones to do, and as you'll notice, this has an open area here over the transmission tunnel. On an Expedition Navigator, you'll have a console, and that console will have to be removed in order to get to the same sort of access. So the first thing we're going to do is to pull off the plastic housing here. I've already snapped this off. It's strictly push pins in that will pull that open and expose the underside of this. And the next thing we're going to do is to pull out this electronic module on the side, and we'll pull out the vent that goes underneath here. So let me turn a few screws and we'll be right back. So the first thing we're going to remove is this electronic module, and it's held in place with 3 green screws, which Ford conveniently coded for us. So there's 2 on the front and 1 that's kind of hidden behind the carpet here, and you pull those out and then this module will slide out, and we're going to go ahead and leave it connected and just kind of lay it to the side here because there's no reason to mess with that module. The next thing we're going to do is to remove this lower plastic vent. And all this does is distribute air to the floor on both the passenger and driver side. So it's not a critical high pressure vent or a critical structural part of the car. Now before I do that, real quick, I want to show you, as we'll discuss taking the screws out, it's not easy. I want to show you my favorite tool. We're not in the tool business, but people are always interested. This is a swiveling ratchet wrench. I actually got this at Harbor Freight. You can get it online or at one of their stores. But it is a full ratchet, and it has a swivel on the connection, and I have that with a U-joint. And some of these screws are difficult to get to. This tool makes it a little bit easier. But what's nice is that you can turn that thing on the side and get leverage, and then as it starts to get loose, pull it up and run it almost like a screwdriver. So anyway, enough of that. There's a small brace here. It's held on by 2 screws, easy to take off. Pull this carpet back up from under the plastic vent. There are 3 screws that hold this in place. One over on the right hand side, fairly easy to see, and one that's easy to get to on the left hand side, and then one in the back that is a bear to pull loose. So we showed you that on the box apart. I'm not going to make you look at me do it again, but it's difficult to do. Also remove the 2 screws that are holding this vacuum canister in place, and once we do that, then we should be able to pull this plastic piece out of here. And you're going to have to wrangle it a little bit and twist it around and force it, and we'll get that out. Okay, so now we've actually done the hard part, and we're able to access the actuator motor here. So that will be the next step. Just one comment: if you want to know if your F-150 is having blend door problems, you'll probably want to break it down to this point and get to that actuator motor. When we pull that off, we'll be able to see exactly what's going on with the system. The actuator motor is held on with 3 screws, 2 of them in the front and 1 kind of hidden in the back. They're all very easy to get to, so you won't have any problem with that. We want to pull the connector out of it, and once the screws are out, this motor then will just pull straight down. You may have to use a screwdriver to pull that loose, but you'll see how it works. the most obvious symptom of a broken blend door is that when you pull that motor down, you'll have little black pieces that fall out. Those are pieces of the broken axle. On this one, actually the motor had been removed previously as a diagnostic, and it did have the black pieces, so we know this one is bad. But you'll be able to see that pretty quickly. The other thing you can do now is you'll be able to see or feel the point where the axle fits up in there. You can use a bent piece of metal as a lever to go up into that contact and turn the door. This one, I can stick my finger up in there and feel that there is absolutely no axle. It is totally broken off. So that's a very definitive diagnosis of a problem. On yours, if it's broken, it'll be very obvious. It may also be cracked or loose in the middle stages of breaking, and you'll be able to tell that with just a bent piece of metal into that socket and turn the door back and forth and feel for its integrity. So our next step will be to come in from the top of the box and replace the door. So let me get a little prep work done and we'll be back to that. Okay, fully opening the glove box is very easy to do. Open the glove box, these kind of slide to the side. We'll pull it all the way down like that, and you don't need to really remove the glove box. I usually just put a screwdriver or something in here that will kind of wedge it down in that position, whatever you want to, just so that you keep it open and have an open area to work with. Okay, with the glove box open, the next thing we're going to do is to cut out this plastic backing behind the glove box. As far as I can figure it, the purpose of that backing is so that any spare $100 bills that fall out of the glove box won't go back up behind the plenum box. In reality, it's strictly cosmetic. I've made neat marks of where we're going to cut. But in reality, most people are not going to replace this piece of plastic, and I'm just going to hack it out of there and make sure we've got it out of the way. Okay, we have hacked out this piece of plastic kind of along the lines I marked. You can see we're making a giant mess, but we'll worry about that later. Just one other comment, the job goes a lot faster if you've got a variable speed Dremel tool with an extension on it. This actually is made by Durabuilt. It's a fairly inexpensive tool at all of the local Targets, so if you don't have a tool, this is one that I would recommend. And it's very nice to have the variable speed on it because you can kind of look at where you are, how critical it is, and rev it into fourth gear and speed up to make the job go quickly.